Okay, so Neve got it done. Big deal, guys. Let's chill it out. No, showtime. Getting it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. Now there's a couple
so far. So, well, I mean,
Nerdgeo
Laser
looked great. Nerdgeo had a
PvP,
great series against TY, by the way.
We haven't seen a Lasers PvP. We don't know. Maybe he can get it done too.
We did. Well, yeah.
Not as PvP.
Sure.
But guys, look. So for this third game, I think it's really interesting that it's on Frozen Temple because this map plays out differently than most maps because the natural expansion, it's very thin right at the front where the ramp is, and concaves and force fields wreck that area. So a lot of times we do see things like rushes with a Warp Prism to juggle some units, sometimes Immortal rushes, sometimes just Stalker Sentry. There's a lot of different cheesy, crazy attacks you can do here against players that expand. So anything could happen here. And in fact, Neeblit is being proxied right now. Zest has one out on the map.
Probably a Stargate. Could be something else, though.
Yeah.
But he, too, is doing something a little bit strange. He's actually going for a 3rd and 4th Adept. BLizzcon 2017, that's when I want us to step up the production again, and we would do something where we would cut away to our on-field reporter, Rotterdam, and he would give us a field report on what it means to go 4 Adepts right there.
Oh, when you go 4 Adepts, you can kill probes twice as well.
Yep.
Like, thanks, Rotterdam.
Thanks, Kevin. We cut away from him.
Okay.
Here's Lab off in the distance. So
Hello.
Zest right now, he has 2 gateways being made.
Vào game rồi.
He has one up in his main base and one on the proxy, so he is
Wow.
actually 4
Vậy là
gateways.
Jet quyết định proxy cái gì đấy? Proxy một cái gate ở đấy vậy. Chắc là sẽ vậy thì đánh robo hoặc là mass Adip đâm mình đấy. Silent, thằng Nịp nó đánh 4 con Adip. Bây giờ ở nhà cũng có MS ship core rồi, chắc sẽ đép được rồi. Vậy là Jet nó quyết định all-in với Stalker. 5 gate Stalker. Đây là 4 gate rồi. Không xong rồi, địt cả mẹ đến đây chết cả mẹ rồi xong. Xong con mẹ rồi. Tôi này chắc Nịp sẽ phải gọi GG thôi. Kể cả bây giờ ra Immortal thì lượng Adip của Jet khoảng 4 đến 5 con Adip là đủ để đỡ cho con ấy thôi. Là đủ để đánh chết con Immortal rồi. Vâng, tôi xong con mẹ thằng Nịp rồi. Vậy thì khả năng cao kết quả sẽ là 2-1 cho Jet. Vậy thì trận này coi như là trận này là Nịp coi như thua dễ, khả năng thua rất là cao rồi, thậm chí đến 90% là thua. Giờ Nịp không để làm được gì ở nhà, giờ chắc định ra Stargate để lên Void Ray chắc, mà cũng không phải không ăn thua đâu, hoặc là lên Oracle để đặt bẫy. Mình nghĩ là sẽ lên Oracle đặt bẫy, nhưng mà có vẻ như Z vẫn chưa định đánh vào, hình như định warp thêm một lượt warp Adip nữa mới đánh, có vẻ khá an toàn đấy. Tôi xong với mẹ rồi, nhưng mà chỉ bắt được một con Stalker rồi. Bây giờ thằng Nịp vào cũng khó. À quên là Z vào cũng khó, nhưng mà không nghĩ là Z đã, vậy tức là Z nó không đánh, nó lên Phoenix, vậy là nó vẫn cứ ở nhà nó ăn mỏ được. Vậy coi như là Jet đang khá là hết rồi. Vấn đề bây giờ thằng Jet có cái đàn Adip này có nhìn thấy nhà DT không? Darkside không? Chưa thấy, đi chết mẹ rồi. Chết con mẹ rồi. Vấn đề là đéo thấy. Ê trời ơi. Bây giờ liệu con Phoenix cảnh sang có kịp không để mà ra Observer Oracle. À không xong rồi, 4 thằng đi làm gì đấy? Hóa ra nó đánh nhau ở ngoài kia nãy giờ, nhưng mà 15 con pop chết con mẹ rồi. Thấy ôi, mẹ đi dịch lên tí nữa anh ơi. Ôi trời đi cụ. Cái đéo gì vậy? Đéo thể hiểu được. Không, nhưng mà dẫu sao Z cũng lên được nhà robot rồi. Cũng lên robot rồi, vậy thì vẫn khả năng đép được, nhưng vấn đề là bây giờ Chết cầm chơi xong con mẹ này.
The Robo, he does have the Robo, yeah. But he's not making anything out of it. And actually, he might get the Warp Prism, which is a pretty big deal because there's nothing else to warp in.
Chơi xong rồi. Vậy là thằng Nịp. À là không, thằng Nịp vẫn ra đi ti đúng không? Ôi chơi xong con mẹ rồi, địt cụ. Quáp ra lại đúng lúc nổ. Ơi trời ơi. Giờ sống chết được hai con Imoto là xong. Quá hay. Observer sẽ ra kịp lúc rồi. Mẹ Z đéo thấy rồi. Mệt rồi, đắng rồi. Được rồi, Observer ra kịp. Vậy là đéo sợ, kéo top vào nha. Rồi Z ơi, anh quay về đi anh ơi, đi cụ. Về bấy chính cái kia, 5 con top 5 rồi, con mẹ nó. Rồi, chết con mẹ đi. Vậy là ở nhà tan con mẹ nó xác thằng Nịp rồi, vậy là 2-1 cho Z thằng gì đó. À, quên mất là DT nhở. Nhưng mà đánh này thì Z vẫn ăn thôi. Bây giờ chỉ cần kéo con Observer ở nhà sang là đẹp. Mã thêm 2-3 con Phoenix nữa là đẹp. Mẹ lên Atron. 2-1-4. Nhưng mà lượng Walker Z vẫn hơn. À không, Walker hai bên ngang nhau. Đi mẹ cái gì vậy?
How does Neeblet attempt to win this game is the question. Like, he does have tech for Archons, which obviously that's the one thing that Phoenixes can't do anything to. Can he get something done with that?
It's like, scary.
He has the Twilight. He could go into Glaives, maybe? The thing is, his econ is so hurt, you can't really do much at all. Having active units at this point
we have a
is pure
natural. Phoenix are showing up inside the main where the motion core is waiting. That means damage over the natural.
Mẹ Phoenix nhìn... Hóa ra thế. Bình thường Phoenix đứng nhìn, hóa ra là mải mic ở deep ở kia. Z bây giờ chắc chắn là ở hết hơn rồi. Income chắc chắn từ Z bây giờ hơn hơn rất nhiều so với anh Nịp. Hơn đến 10 Walker rồi mà. Đây bây giờ thằng Z làm gì tiếp đây? Cái Z cũng có thể lên DT lại. Hay là đánh Imoto Blink Imo. Nói chung là đừng có để thằng Nịp nó kéo lại cái, đừng để thằng Nịp nó kéo lại trở lại để đánh Blink Disruptor được. Mẹ. Không đánh Blink Disruptor chắc là thắng rồi. Mẹ, thằng Z nó lại lên Blink. Quan ngại nhỉ? Sao không đi nhảy vào tí thấy cái ghét ra cả pylon nữa không? Đi ở đây thấy rồi. Thấy rồi. Rất nhiều Imoto với 3-4 con rồi. Và một cái ninja, cái Nessus Ninja Hidden ấy. Bên chỗ này. Thường xét sẽ có thể đoán được cả thằng này nó đặt một cái mỏ giấu ở đâu rồi.
Because like the thing
Ôi
is,
thôi
if
sao không
they're
lên
taking
lại
together
lên
like 2
giúp Tô à?
seconds to kill it, it's so far off, but you never really even think of going there, and it is really smart. Now, will Zest actually send scouts out everywhere? Because the thing is, he has Phoenixes, so he might not.
Maybe.
You know? He's like, well, I already
As
see
the
everything.
game goes on, it becomes more peculiar.
Yeah.
But what I almost
Ôi,
want to
thằng
see
Z nó vẫn đeo nó ra.
I want to see him go take a third now.
Nó cắm Phoenix đây.
Unbelievable late timers. Like, you did so much damage to me, Zest. I can't believe how late this third.
Thằng nhìn Z cắm với mẹ rồi.
Zest over there flexing his huge packs. He's just like, absolutely, you're beneath me. Absolutely. That's the ruse.
You know, and what you say, however funny that
Ôi
it may
thôi
be,
xong.
it's
Đến thấy rồi anh ơi, thấy rồi, đi chết.
not scout this back.
Ôi trời ơi,
With a large
Z
amount
đẹp
of
dai của em.
immediately Zest
Win rồi.
all of his units towards this base right now.
Trên này thằng địt nó chết có mẹ ơi.
Yeah, I guess recall out. Just be like, you know what? I needed this to get me back.
Chắc là đi dễ dừng.
My best choice now.
Ôi trời ơi. Được thay.
There's no
Cái trò này hay.
reason to walk on the map to try to stop this. Just look at his army. It's so small.
No, he can't. And we're in disruptor playbout, which is his strength.
Yeah, he's
Có một con đi giúp Tô thì cũng không phải vấn đề lắm.
funny part about that is
Bắn thẳng
he
mặt nó
has
luôn.
almost
Cầm
no
Phoenix nhấc nó lên luôn.
protect them. So once you dodge all the disruptor shots, you can peel apart his army. But you know, he has a couple of mortals in there. He has some sentries and an archon. So
Mẹ Ami hơn vãi cả lìn thì đánh đi anh ơi.
good disruptor shots.
Đánh đi anh ơi.
Still come back.
3 Phoenix cơ mà.
Sign of a good solo caster, man. Someone that can make a point, talk themselves down, and then immediately follow it up and talk themselves up.
Tucker Blink thẳng mặt luôn được. Ôi ôi, để nó lên đến tận 3 con đi giúp Tô này.
You're man. You're just killing it.
Yeah, I wish I was casting.
Mẹ. Đau tim ấy.
Zest pushing forward through these rocks, so that is the best.
Anh
answer.
Z ơi, anh làm cái trò gì đây?
Sorry, you were talking about Blink's forward. He's got to be really careful.
Wow, yeah, that's a little bit crazy. And don't forget, Phoenixes
Anh
are
Z ơi.
lifting them up is a great way to cancel those shots off.
They can pick him up.
So
It's
if
just-
Thằng con mẹ nó rồi, tao nãy giờ cứ phải để cho nó lên đi giúp Tô.
Oh boy, the Destructors being
Đúng
picked
rồi,
up
đi.
right now. Two more coming in from
Đúng rồi, nhấc lên, đúng rồi. Đi, nhấc lên, đi tôi ăn một, yeah. Ôi giời, đẹp trai con đi ra, cơ bản thằng Nịp nó xấu trai quá, thế không ủng hộ. Nếu nó đánh Mỹ.
Did lose in Kessler Cup to this Needlet, comes back here at BlizzCon and says, you're going to fight for your life.
Hay
To
là-
break down that, I'm sure the boys in the couch do a great job, is but when you pick up a disruptor that has launched
Ngay rồi, thắng rồi mà.
cancel the shot,
Nhưng mà Z này nó hơi cọc cưa.
actually without that
Ra mà đánh vừa nãy đã đánh được rồi.
the second you drop the
Rất
game.
sợ DT.
So that's why that was really tough, because Needlet had shot off those shots. Even if he picks off the Phoenix, they had already done their job. It was a suicide run of sorts. But beautiful play by Zest. Great series from these guys.
Yeah, and Nila doesn't seem too shaken, really. He's kind of got a smile on his face and everything. So we'll see what he can do tomorrow going up with a rematch against Patience, who he beat earlier. Nila definitely still has shots to get into that round of 8. So we're going to go to a little commercial break. When we come back, we'll hear from Zest.
Vẫn đánh nữa. Win the match. Vậy là BO5 à? Cũng được. Vẫn đánh nữa. Phải là BO5.
The StarCraft2 WCS Global Finals is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
we did see Dark move on to the
Ờ,
quarterfinals,
tưởng
and
xong
now
rồi.
it will be Zest joining him here at the WCS Global Finals. So, first of all, congratulations. It was a very intense series you just played against Neve. My first question, prior to entering this series, I'm wondering, Neve is a player that has shown that he can defeat many of the top Korean Protest players. He's defeated players like Stats, Trap, yourself, and Patience recently. So I'm wondering, because of that, were you more nervous headed into the series, or did that actually make you feel more comfortable because there were that many more games to study from? 일단 오늘 경기 전에 일단 니브 선수가 많은 프로토스 선수들을 이겼잖아요. 근데 그것 때문에 좀 긴장을 더 하셨나요? 아니면 그만큼 더 연구를 할 수 있어서 더 편했나요?
원래 그 캐스파컵에서 경기할 때는 닉 선수에 대한 정보가 하나도 없었는데 이번에는 좀 VOD도 많고 그래가지고 좀 선수에 대해 파악을 한 상태여가지고 오히려 좀 편하게 임했는데 그거 감안해도 닉 선수가 생각보다 더 잘해가지고 좀 경기가 좀 치열했던 것 같아요.
So he says, when it comes to the Kespa Cup, when I played him about a month ago, I had no information on Niblet at all. And because of that, it was really difficult. This time, however, as you mentioned, there was a lot to study from, a lot of games that I could look up his builds and his style. And so because of that, I did feel very prepared. But despite all of that, Niblet played so well, and I think that's why the series came
Buồn vẫn là
to
B3.
as it did. So let's just
Về
jump
mẹ
right
cần.
into talking about all of it, because there was so many great games. Just need to talk about King Sejong Station, because there was a moment that Nii came straight into your natural, which was a very bold move by him. Did that make you nervous at all, or were you confident that you could defend?
그 두 번째 경기에서 그 얼음붙은 차원에서 니브 선수가 앞마당에 다 들어왔을 때 네네 세종 네 죄송해요 이제 들어왔을 때 앞마당에 들어왔을 때 걱정하셨나요? 아니면 수비할 수 있다고 자신감 있었나요?
일단 닙 선수가 원래 분열기라는 유닛을 공격적으로 쓰기가 되게 힘든데 공격적으로 너무 잘 쓰시는 거예요. 실수도 없이. 그래가지고 그때 들어왔을 때는 좀 당황했는데 생각보다 그때는 잘 막아가지고 네, 경기했지만 그래도 그 경기는 져가지고.
So he says, actually, Neve is a player that's so good at Disruptor Micro. That's really what made it hard, and I thought that I actually was able to hold off his attack when he came in, but he uses his Disruptor Micro so aggressively, so well, and that's why I think that game didn't go in my favor. And of course, that last game on Frozen Temple was so back and forth, so much action going on. I'm just wondering, can you walk us through your perspective during such an intense game like that?
그 마지막 경기 얼음 붙은 상황에서 되게 액션 많았던 경기였잖아요. 그래서 그렇게 좀 어려운 경기 내내 무슨 생각이 드셨나요?
일단 제가 좀 원하는 상황대로 흘러가가지고 손쉽게 이길 줄 알았는데 생각보다 이 선수가 잘해가지고 좀 제가 좀 일찌감치 승기를 잡았다는 생각에 좀 방심한 것도 있는데 그래도 결국에 이겨서 다행인 것 같아요.
So he says, in that game, especially at the beginning, I just felt like everything was playing out the way I had envisioned it to. But again, as I just mentioned before, Nibla just played so well, and so the game got really difficult for me. And I think part of that also definitely has to do with the fact that I think I lost a bit of focus because I did think the game was just in my grasp. But despite that, I'm just really relieved that I was able to clinch that final game and take the victory. My final question for you is: we just saw Dark moving on to the quarterfinals. Yesterday, we also saw another great player, Solar, actually get eliminated. So, based on all of this information and just knowing who the other players are, what are your thoughts on your toughest opponents left moving forward?
일단 방금 전에 박명우 선수가 8강에 진출했고 그 다음에 강민주 선수는 탈락을 하셨는데 남은 선수들 중에서 누가 가장 걱정되세요?
솔직히 딱히 그냥 그래도 그나마 저그 선수들이 많이 걱정이 됐는데 그래도 많이 떨어져가지고 연습 때 기량만큼만 하면 충분히 잘 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 그리고 저희 한국 지역은 지금 새벽이잖아요. 그럼에도 불구하고 지금 저희 같은 팀 선수들이 많이 열심히 도와줘가지고 특히 성일이나 한강호 선수나 이동현 선수가 지금 늦은 시간에도 불구하고 계속 도와주고 있거든요. 그래가지고 그 친구들한테 고맙다고 전하고 싶어요.
So he says, first of all, I'm just gonna say the last part first because he was thanking a lot of people. He said as a last thought that there were so many people right now in Korea. It's extremely late, but despite all of that, he has so many of his teammates and just friends that were helping him stay up really late and giving him advice and just help when it came to the builds and advice and things like that. So he really wanted to personally thank them. And then when it comes to the players moving forward, the players he was most worried about were the Zerg players, but with Solar going out as well as other top-level players like Violet and True, he feels a lot more confident, and he feels like if he could just play as he has done in practice, that he'll be pretty confident moving forward and doing well here at the WCS quarterfinals. So congratulations again, Zest. Looking forward to how you play in the quarterfinals, and with that, we have our second player secured in the top 8. It will be Zest.
Unbelievably good looking and
Đây
incredibly
là ai
skilled.
vậy nhỉ?
Zest goes through as our second player to the quarterfinals
À,
to
Bill
play
nè.
at BLizzcon next weekend.
Mẹ chứ gì ạ, thầy Bill
Rightfully so,
ngồi
I
trong
think a
hỗn
lot
rồi.
of people expected these two players to be some of the first to go through, obviously being in Group A and Group B. That does mean now that Neve will play against Patience tomorrow in the decider match to see if he can get towards BLizzcon next week. And let's talk a little bit about how that series unfolded now. Nathanias, Todd, and Rotterdam, or that's maybe a little bit confusing, Todd, Nate, and Rotterdam. The first map,
Yes.
talk us through it a little bit, Kev.
Very sharp timing attack. It's kind of what I said in the beginning of the series. You know, I think if Zest is going to take this series, he's going to have to avoid the super late game, avoid Tempest Wars, avoid too much disruptive play, and try to get an advantage with sharp timing attacks. And that's kind of what happened. He, you know, obviously was in a good position, did some economic damage, and he just followed it up with a very sharp attack when there, yes, was one or two disruptors.
Mẹ quả này đánh y hệt cái quả của thằng ấy hôm qua vậy.
That's not the number where he starts.
Easy cái pha của thằng
Zest has been doing
Pat,
more and
còn
more.
đâu của không gì của thằng Patchit với cả thằng
It's really coming
Nip.
back in fashion, and now that Protosses have gotten very good at picking up units from
Pha đánh easy.
all these kind of War Prism attacks are so good. Like we saw it in a lot of those games. That was actually a
Z hơi đen quả này.
Prism plus a bunch of DTs. Then it was weird because I thought Nib was doing
Mẹ
well.
đánh Berlin Disruptor với thằng Nip mệt vãi đi.
But somehow behind this, he still had a lot of army and kind of came back slowly in it.
Well, I think that Zest also let him get back into this game. I think this fight was definitely amazing for Zest, and he really created an advantage for himself. But then he did something we saw him do before, where he randomly splits off 14 Stalkers that start shooting at the rocks. We saw the one lone Colossus, maybe a misclick, but it didn't really do anything. And then suddenly his army was not that big anymore, only had one Disruptor. And he blinked forward, picked it off, and then Zest just lost everything. I mean, in the end, he played it beautifully, and once he got like 5 Tempest out and stuff. But I definitely felt that there was a moment where Zest was in control of this game, but then he made that random split up with the Stalkers again.
Yeah. And this was super high level, by the way. Like every single one of those blinks, every time were calculated on top of the disruptors. Like these guys here, they meet in group stage. If they meet again in the grand finals of the tournament, don't be surprised. Like
Mình phải là S quan trọng, nó chỉ hy vọng là 4 con Disruptor làm nên chuyện, nhưng mà tôi không phải trả được cái con mẹ.
Yeah, this game was a huge anxiety attack for either fans of either one of these players. You have the big trades in the middle, the DTs barely being able to slip to the other side, but you mentioned it big time while he's doing all the micro with the Immortals and the War Prism towards the bottom of his main base ramp. He ends up getting into this crazy situation where all of those workers get caught. The hallucinated Phoenix immediately.
Thực ra mà nói là Z quả đấy nó mà Scout sớm hơn thì
He's not able to
chắc thằng Nip có GG luôn rồi.
And the Phoenix picking up the disruptors, well that's how you neutralize them. You don't have enough firepower to keep them out of the play, and you can't use your purification nodes.
I absolutely love this final game by Zest. Once again, he goes for a super aggressive opening, like a 4-gate. They were joking, like 4 gates. They were around when Neep didn't even play this game, or he was 12, like you mentioned earlier, you know, when Wings of Liberty came out. But it's just so smart. He's forcing a different type of game, not the regular, we both take 1 gate, fast expand, we both go blink, we both go disruptive from this point on. And this is where Neep shines. Like, no, let's make it
Thằng
crazy.
Rotterdam này rốt đi ạ.
What's also pretty cool is that he shaded. I can talk about the last game for a long time, by the way. So just cut me off whenever you want. But like he kept shading in when he first picked up the gateway, and then he kind of threatened the sentries, but he never let it finish up. And then the one time when Neep kind of just expected him to cancel it again, it's like, surprise, there are 4 adepts killing 15 workers. Then the 1 base Stargate follow up, I think it's super good, because like 4 gate can still lose against like 2 gate Robo, you know, if a couple of Immortals gets out, but if you get a couple Phoenixes, that's great. And then once it turned into an expand game, Phoenixes will always kill at least a couple of probes, so he made sure he kept his lead.
You mentioned that, but actually the move out that he went into where he caught the Immortals and killed the War Prism with the Stalkers was very important, because the War Prism was very close to the base of Zest. if 3 DTs had been walking right there, walked very fast to that robo and sniped it, it's game over. Like, Neeb must win that game. So, clutch victory, I guess, in a way, for Zest, who was ahead, but definitely could have messed up.
Yeah, I love the response indeed of Neeb as well. It's like, okay, I see your response, starting it, that's very smart.
Yeah,
well, the only thing that I can do from this position is I'll go for a Dark Shrine. And we kind of thought that Zest knew, because he immediately dropped the Robo. And he had an Observer, but it still took a while. Like Todd said, it could have been catastrophic if DTs just run straight in and kill it. And even in the end, the DTs, I wouldn't say evened up the game, but definitely made it a game again, you know, when he got like 15 workers or something. So it was just a sick PvP. I really enjoy games like that.
What did you think about Zest's comment in the winner's interview where he said that actually now that a lot of the Zerg players that he was worried about have left the tournament and have been eliminated, the Solar, the True, the Violets, but he thinks he stands a better shot at picking up the title now because that was his worry in matchup.
Seems like everybody here is really good at PvP. These have been probably some of the best games that we've been watching, like the series with Deep against Patience, obviously the series that we just saw against Zest, and many others. There's some of the Zergs as scary as they can be. It's kind of turned into that, the 2 lone Terrans, a lot of Protoss, and then, you know, pretty much Dark just being like the guy to carry it for Zerg.
It's interesting because he didn't even mention the Terrans. I thought that a player like Zest would be like, you know, it's nice that Solar's not here. I'm a little bit worried about Beyond, and that's the kind of response I would have expected. But he said, the Zergs are gone, I'm feeling great.
Yeah, I think he probably sees his PvZ as maybe his biggest weakness. For sometimes Zest was the guy early on in the year. Remember, he was like, what, 86% or something ridiculous. Against Terran, he just wasn't losing to Terran at all. Yeah. So no, I'm sure maybe it's a little bit harder, but compared to versus Zerg, like I think Zerg is one of the main concerns, not just from Terrans, but also from a lot of Protosses as of late.
And I think he mostly was thinking about Dark. I don't think he was thinking... I mean, Solar can obviously be very scary. I don't think he was super worried about a True or a Violet, even though he did drop one map, but that was Dazzle Station against True. Like, I think overall, when you ask him about Zerg, he's thinking about the scariest Zerg, that's Dark, and he will say like, yeah, I'm pretty like scared of Dark in a way, and he maybe phrased it a little bit differently, but I am sure that deep down inside, he's worried about Beyond and TY, because if he's not, then he's a robot, and that could explain his basic bodies.
You did see on the side of your screen there as well the games that are coming up next, just 2 matches coming up very, very shortly. The next one is going to be Showtime versus Beyond. Neeblet is not out of the tournament yet. He'll be back tomorrow to go up against Patience in the rematch. You don't want to be missing that tomorrow. We're going to go a very quick break, and when we return, it's time for the German to see if he can continue in this tournament.
Mẹ nhìn rất đáng yêu vậy. Halloween. Thấy tao ngồi đồn là mai làm Halloween, mai chủ nhật rồi. Nhưng mà Halloween ngày cuối của tháng 10. Từ 2 đến 31 tháng 10. Wow. Ngầu vãi. Wow, mẹ con đường trà to ấy.
Heroes of the Storm, play free and experience the new StarCraft themed battlegrounds. Rated
for teen.
Đấy.
See the full animated short at playoverwatch.com.
This
Showtime với cả Build. Nhưng mà thằng Showtime của này đứa lại nhớ đến mắt thằng Seta. Còn thằng Build thì trông đã khác gì con mẹ thằng ăn mày. Hôm nay có fan của Tehran ở đây thì chắc nhìn vào thằng Build chán mẹ luôn.
The StarCraft2 WCS Global Finals is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
PVT.
Into Group C we go for the winners match just around the corner. We're back live from Burbank, California as we look to find the third player to qualify to play at BLizzcon next weekend as we look to find the 2016 World Champion. Joining me on the couch this time we have Incon, Nate and Artosis, picked up from the cast. I was listening.
That is a takeaway joke, my friend. You're advancing.
I am. I'm getting better and better and better. So, gentlemen, we've had a fantastic day so far. I think these two series have not been too one-sided. I think they've been relatively close between two of them. Hopefully it can continue, but something's telling me, especially Nathanius's looks right now, is this might not be the same as the previous two.
Unstoppable is what his name has become this year, Sean. Byun is the terror to behold in all matchups. I would say maybe some of the best other Terrans in Korea could have put a stop to him, but he is going to be quite has that range we've discussed. But we saw him, as we so eloquently put it yesterday, Dumpster Violet with very standard builds. This guy's been on a tear all year. He's been playing since the very early stages of the beta. He has seen it all, and he plays so much and broadcasts so much of it. You couldn't even try to guess what he's going to do because he does 11 different builds every other game in every matchup. He's insane.
This might be a bit of a cooler day. We were really out riding that Neeblit hype train, and then Zeth said, no, I'm still one of the absolute best. Obviously, this is not elimination day, so we'll see more of that, but I do have that same sense that Nathanius has here, where it's like, Showtime yesterday, we're gushing, he's got such a supportive father. Well, it's easy to be a supportive father when your son's winning. Is it easy to be a supportive father when your son gets absolutely demolished on live TV? We'll have to wait and see.
If you don't mind passing the Beyond Hype baton over to Artosis, anything to add?
You know, Showtime is really good, and he just outplayed Deer. And, I mean, Deer was top 4. Byun had to go through him, and that was like an okay match in the GSL, to be honest. So I'm looking at the transitive property of beating people in games, and I think it could be close because of that.
Okay.
I wish it worked like that.
I hope Showtime has already thought about what he would be doing to prepare for a rematch against Deer, because I think that Byun is going to be a wall he is not going to get around it's not going to be any stretch of the means easy, but possible.
Be
I'm not
unpenetrable,
even
I should say.
Yeah, be unpenetrable.
I wish you would just keep.
Well,
like,
you know what,
descending
guys?
down the meme.
It's showtime, and
Well,
he's
he's
going to
number
have to
beyond.
really step up.
All right, let's. I think there's one thing we can say for certain though. When we're looking at this matchup, it's not Beyond versus Violet. That kind of distance between the both of them, surely.
If you say with certain, I actually
It could be
because of this matchup,
Really?
because of how incredibly mechanically difficult this matchup can get, and because of how amazing, like Beyond. Actually, I feel really confident talking about, like really talking him up because I feel like almost of all the players, like TY will beat you, but in a grindery way. Like against Nurture, it was a very long distance, pretty cool series. I feel like Beyond is in danger of actually making Showtime look way worse than he actually is.
Oh
but-
dear. Well, it's again seemingly the writings.
Khả năng là 2-0 cho Beyond.
Talk a little
Bởi vì
bit
thằng
about
Showtime
Showtime,
này đánh
who's obviously had a
PVT
fantastic
Sida vãi.
series, won a tournament earlier on around summertime. He comes into this tournament. He started well. He's already picked up a big win. Now he is.
Nếu không nhầm lần trước xem ở The Rematch nó đánh thắng con mẹ giết đến hơn 100 con SCV rồi mà nó vẫn còn thua được.
No, it's not completely over. Like, I don't know how this is going to look. I do think Beyond is the favorite, of course. Like,
Không hiểu nó thua kiểu gì
his
luôn.
micro is just so good in the matchup, but Showtime should know this going in, and like the metagame of that matchup has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's
Hình như là xem The Rematch Valencia rồi.
prepared for Showtime as Showtime is for him.
Thua
right?
thằng
Beyond streams a lot. He plays every tournament.
nào nhỉ?
You can know
Không
how
thắng. Kết quả vẫn là 3-2 nhưng mà cuối cùng vào sau
Showtime
nó bị
is
loại.
we don't
Bây giờ
know
Nurture
exactly
với
what
Red
style he'll end up
vào.
using here.
And
Sure.
he does have a couple of decent level Terran practice partners. You've got your Marine Lords, you've got your Major who might have come in to help in this. So there are a couple of assistants that he would have, had from these players.
And I still don't think that's enough because if there's
That's
one thing
fine.
that we saw this year in the
Apple
WCS circuit outside of Korea,
Map like
is
that
that there
frozen
aren't
new
a
red
huge
blue
swath of impressive
with
Terran
that.
players that have been competing. The closest you had was Polt, who had probably one of his most mortal years playing outside of Korea. Despite the championship in Katowice, he had some extremely sloppy tournament results by first going back to Austin, had an extremely rough time.
And he played anti
He's done a lot of different weird stuff. This year, the Polt that led up to here that couldn't be here, that had to be replaced, he was not the same Polt that we'd seen in previous years. You don't have anybody that comes out as a rock star for these guys to be practicing against. If you were looking against playing a good Terran, right now is going to be the most important, best match that he's played against the Terran. There's nothing even close to this in any of the tournaments he's played this year.
I like hyping it up this way because A, I do think it's actually true. I think it's actually good feedback. But also B, if this upset does happen, this would be the biggest upset of the tournament. And it wouldn't be an elimination one, so there would be a chance for recovery. But man, Showtime 2-0ing out of this group would be the story of the century.
So I know that the game is almost ready. We'll go to that very, very shortly. But let's talk a little bit more specifically about StarCraft itself then. So you know exactly how Beyond plays. Everybody apparently knows how Beyond plays. What are we expecting from him to be doing against Showtime?
Okay, so Beyond likes a couple of things. First of all, there's the very standard. We see a lot of Terran players like to open up with that straight, almost like in Zuri, like the 2-on-1, the very fast aggressive drops. Beyond will throw this at you all day. He's very good at the standard game. But Beyond is also the type of player, if we get a map like King Sejong Station, where he will throw out builds like Proxy Factory with Starport for fast Liberators, Mind Drops, and I haven't seen him proxy cheese as much with something like Marines or Reapers, but not as popular against Protoss these days. Thing is, he can do everything. That's always the biggest threat, is he has the range, but his standard game is so good, he may just stick to that like he did against Violet.
I agree with Nate. He can do anything.
That
Here's the thing, I think that Beyond needs to stay away from cheesy plays. I don't think he should be proxying very much, because that is definitely something that Showtime has sufficient practice against. I think that Beyond is going to have to win in mid-game to late game, where he's kind of out-microing with a lot of units and out-multitasking all around. So I think if he gets too aggressive, which a lot of Terrans are nowadays, like a lot of Terrans like to be cheesy right now against Protoss, because there is like a plethora of different crazy all-ins out there, I think that's where Showtime starts to really shut everything down and get an advantage. But if Beyond is playing the longer game and he's like, okay, I have to have stim, I have to have plus attack, I have to have Marauder slow, okay, here we go. That is the type of game I think that's going to be very hard for Showtime. But the fact that the place where Beyond should beat Showtime is in the bigger macro game means that Showtime is going to have what he wants there. So I think that this is a little bit closer than what you guys are giving it. But, I mean, Beyond is, he looks really good in the matchup.
Okay, so I mean, I'd ask for predictions usually at this point of the the segment, but I don't think there's
Is anyone
really
gonna
any
say
need.
not 2-0? Anyone want to predict that?
I'll take a 2-1.
Okay.
Wow.
I'll take a 2-1.
When did you lose faith in Korea? When did you find that to...
I think it was when I woke up this morning and realized that foreigners were up 10-9.
Whoa! All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Of course, Beyond across the board here.
Mẹ lạnh đấy.
Favorite, no
Hà
doubt.
Nội đang gió mùa về các mẹ ạ.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we return,
Đóng cái
let's
cửa
find
quá.
out is Beyond going to steamroll or not.
The reviews are in, and the critics agree. Overwatch is a perfect 10.
What are you looking at?
It's time to pick a side.
Overwatch. Play it now on PC and console. Rated D for Teen.
The StarCraft2 WCS Global Finals is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. I'm Tasteless, joined with Todd, and we're going into this match in just a few moments here. Beyond versus Showtime.
That's a great match. I've been waiting for Showtime to take on some of these Korean beasts of Terrans that are out there, and who better than Beyond? Well, I guess TY as well. Would be nice
TY is also quite good
to see him face off, but first big test here for Showtime is going to be up against Beyond, and man, this is going to be huge there.
All right, we are going to go right into this match. Yeah, actually, right now we're good to go. This is Showtime versus Beyond in the best of 3. In the upper left, in the red, a Protoss player. He is Showtime. That looked like we fell through the Nexus and then landed on his face. That Dimon was so crazy, Todd. In the bottom right, in the blue, our Terran player, a GSL Codes champion. He is Beyond. Right through the command center. We actually see he's inside that command center right there. If that command center blows up, Todd, Beyond is
he
dead.
takes off, he's going to fly it for sure.
That's right. He's literally flying that command center in there.
The couch already covered with some of James' base jokes as well, how Beyond is super versatile and he can play pretty much any style, do any build, including proxies and stuff. That makes it very hard to face this kind of player. And we already see Showtime scouting for any kind of proxies that could have been around his base. So Showtime is going to this match knowing how dangerous Beyond can be with some of these proxy builds, and I think he's definitely going to put a lot of emphasis on trying to scout what he's up against and making sure he doesn't basically get taken out here in this series by something sneaky that he wouldn't have expected.
I think the big driving factor that Showtime is going to have to watch out for constantly, and it's basic, but that makes it even scarier, is that Beyond has the best control in the world. Right now, you just do not see anybody that can control armies like this. And I don't know if Showtime's ever faced off against anything like this. If you guys haven't been keeping up with StarCraft2, Beyond just won the GSL Code. That's the first guy ever to win not on a team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's insane. Like, it really goes to show that it doesn't matter where you are, what race you play. You can, if you practice enough for it, you will be rewarded eventually. You can achieve great things. Showtime though, like I think if he doesn't take any damage for like the early game, the mid game, in terms of losing any probes and all that, going into the late game, I definitely think like it would be beneficial, not just for Protoss in general, but for him and his style. He would be able to do really well, but that's going to be the big challenge. We've seen Beyond
I mean, he loves to be aggressive.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the stereotypical Terran, but 100 times
Vậy
better.
hai bên
And
open
already
chả
at
gì
his
bất ngờ.
advantage,
À?
he was using stuff that wouldn't necessarily like.
Ồ,
If it was done by somebody
vậy là
else,
Bjorn không lên Reaper.
deserved, but
Right.
he was just like killing him right out with way more units the whole time.
I mean, Bjorn, sometimes he just
Một
bottom
đúng không nhỉ?
I mean, he just makes
Đúng không?
the proper amount of units and controls
Vậy
well
theo
enough,
drop
and
Widowmine
just runs you over. And there's been a lot of popular builds nowadays with Terran where you kind of just get in the Protoss's face for a little while, especially earlier in this year. Seemed like a lot of the Protosses, you know, the adepts were such an intimidating unit.
Giờ còn Eldritch mày
And
xếp
of
bóng
course,
lên
a lot of the
cũng
Terrans
biết
be on their
đoán
back
được thằng
feet,
Bjorn
so a
làm
lot
gì
of
thôi.
these Protosses were getting 3 Nexuses, Nexi, right away. But
Whoa!
Oh, whoa! That was
Là
that was not supposed to happen.
That
And that
is
means he's
dead
going to lose that.
vãi là mẹ Showtime.
Okay.
A
Now-
bit
Yeah.
uncharacteristic, especially for Showtime to make this
Yeah.
kind of mistake. I don't know what he thought exactly. Like he just,
Yeah.
I guess, was gonna cancel a little too late, and then
Well, I mean, I might have to chalk this
Tự
up
dưng
to
chết con
nerves
Eldritch vớ
here.
bẩn vãi.
yeah.
That's, you know, just basically not a thing. So that may be a bad indicator for what Showtime's current mental or emotional state is right now.
And Showtime right now, I think he knows.
Vậy là
what's
con
gonna be
Medivac
the
chở
draws in the good old
theo một con
Widowmine
Widowmine với
drop.
mấy con Marine sang
Potentially, actually, it's only Marines right
Yeah.
now. Medivac. So he's getting
Gặp nhau với mẹ
aggressive. I
rồi.
think he wants to basically defend the first drop against the first drop, and then go for the counter attack with the depth, swapping a bunch of them, and then trying to do some economic damage himself. But Liberator is actually being made, and he's gonna be.
But the
his
Widowmine
middle
mà.
line.
Oh, actually, Young might bungle this. He actually, okay, he's gonna be able to pick up the Marines. He does, and he's gonna get out. Very important because,
Yeah.
like you were saying, with the War Prism coming, there's a very high chance that then Showtime, during the next upcoming attack, Yun will have enough to defend it. So very important back there that Yun managed to get away. Also,
A very
we saw the
important
observer just
observer.
get scanned and killed.
Yeah, a very important observer though got across the map, saw that tanks were being made, and that from the starports it was most likely Liberators being made because there is already a medivac on the map. So
Mới đầu game mà
I
lỗ
think
rồi.
Showtime's gonna fully realize that Beyond for now is
Vãi.
passing on 2 bases.
Robotic bay
However,
luôn.
if he still chooses to drop at depth, he can probably anyway because you can drop these guys, snipe a couple SCVs, and usually escape as long as there isn't too many.
Hai Eldritch thì
units
không
in
đủ
the
đâu,
area.
3 Eldritch một lượt thì phải
But
ổn
from
hơn.
there, there is a possibility that
Hai Eldritch làm sao đủ hit
Beyond
để
knows
chết
the
luôn
rest
đấy
will
được.
push.
Oh, that was such a
Wow.
sick dodge. The Widowmine just under the SCV. That is so cool.
Khá hay.
Really good reactions there. He actually managed to get away. That was great.
Yeah, that was really good micro there from Showtime. Liberator though is going to siege towards his main. He's out of position. Mothership core is towards the natural, and he didn't spot that.
Oh man, and he's in a pretty good position here.
Giờ đang không biết thằng Showtime nó sẽ đánh mui gì thôi.
Overcharge doesn't reach
Nếu nó
this.
đánh Blink cộng với cả à không, phải là nó đánh cho bộ Colossus bình thường rồi. Tưởng nó đánh Disruptor
Yeah, I
Blink
mean, they can move
của
it,
thằng
but at least
Yeah,
two of them would die if Bjorn doesn't really. Yeah, actually, I like the choice as well to sack this and
Yeah,
say,
me too.
I'm gonna trade against some stalkers. Some nice turrets actually in the natural base of Bjorn, making sure that no War Prism on the right hand side can fly by.
And
And he's still massing on 2 bases. Stays this. I
yes,
think
he is. He
he
may
might
be
go for a
gearing
big
up for an
push.
attack here.
không áp đường lỗ ấy.
Regardless of if Bjorn starts a 3rd base, he's committed a lot on massing out of 2 bases. And Showtime, interestingly, goes for Colossus deck with Thermal Lens.
Okay, so I got something to say about this. It's very subtle, but we've already seen 1 Adept, and I believe it was 2 Stalkers picked off, right? He's already also picked off 2 Observers, which of course compels the Protoss to try to
Giờ
make
mình nghĩ là
Observers
thằng
again. That's a
Showtime
little
sẽ
bit less
all
than
in
what Protoss would want to have, and Terran hasn't really lost much of anything. So this push, even though it's very minor, might be huge.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah. You forgot to
that's
take him
normal,
for a
how
second,
they
so you
put it.
kind of have to fly back and pick that up. But now, Bjorn is moving forward with a lot of Marines. Keep in mind, Steam Pack's about to finish.
Right.
There is not going to be combat shield with this, but +1 will line up nicely as well with when this attack might take place in just a moment. Actually, some adepts were dropped across the map and got some SCVs, but that War Prism will get chased away.
Oh, okay, he got some force fields coming down here now. Juggling back the tanks. He's going to go ahead and try to get rid of this pylon over here. Again, a very sparse amount of units here for Showtime, but I think some of those Colossi lasers actually did a decent amount of damage to those Marines, eliminating some of them. Glaves is almost done. He's going to come in right now. Thermal Lance about to finish.
Yeah, I think Bjorn realizes that usually when you push like this, especially if you're not sending in reinforcements as Terran, there's going to be a time when Protoss just has way more than you.
Vậy là Showtime sẽ đợi con Colossus thứ 3 nó sẽ đánh.
before that could happen, which I think was
Ủa,
going to be very
cho nên
soon.
speed đi chứ, speed
And he's
cho
basically
đi chứ.
going to play with that double siege. He's going to have the Liberators plus the tanks really
Linh
complementing
cũng
each
phải
other
lên nơi
very
chậm.
well. Lots of bio on the ground, mostly Marines, that are going to pull back against the Colossus and try and let the tanks and Liberators deal with these Colossi.
Okay, he's coming up now. Remember, best micro in the world here, Beyond. This is about as scary as it gets. He scans up there, sees that ramp may be a little bit tricky to actually get up. By the way, at the bottom of the mini-map here, looks like we have a possible War Prison coming in.
Yeah, and there's a Widowman in position here to intercept that, so gonna have to be really careful with that. Another observer, by the way, spots the entire army of Beyond. That's very important to be able to kind of look at your opponent's army, and seize it up. Be able to be like, all right, I need to be worried now. I need to be up the ramp, ready to force field, because otherwise, if I take on this army head on, and in this particular case, again, he's facing a very tricky composition. Tanks and Liberators with bio, they really complement each other very, very well. So it's very scary and hard to deal with this kind of army. You need to have a ton of adepts, you need to have some good AoE, which he already has with the Colossi. But now Showtime goes into Disruptors. He's already got one, he's getting a second one. He's going for his double upgrade, kind of trying to catch up, to be honest, because Beyond has just completed 1-1 there. And he already has an armory, by the way, so he's going to go straight into 2-2. So
Nói chung là nói có vẻ thấy như là trong số tham nó hơi ít. Starker.
And you know, beefy Beyond army is always going to be a bad thing. It's funny because a lot of times somebody gets nice hit there with the Widow Mine. So just one adept right here, right now. Beyond's going to come back here and clean this up. With a lot of players, the bigger their army gets, their control kind of goes down a little bit. It's just more things to juggle. With Beyond, I feel like it's really the opposite. The bigger his army gets, he really is actually
Starker này sẽ không đủ để focus.
Speaking of Showtime, actually headed southbound here.
Reaper hay là
Maybe gearing up to try to poke in
Viking.
here. Remember, guys, if the battle goes badly for Protoss and they're running, usually all the Colossi will get gunned down. We have a decent amount of Vikings already.
Nhưng mà bây giờ kiểu này là thế chết đầy nhau à?
Showtime's gonna move towards that third command center to try and threaten there.
Đấy, quay trở lại rồi.
Make sure Beyond stays in that position and maybe drop some DTs here very soon because there is no turret in the main.
Now the angling here with these Vikings is quite good, and look, once again, he manages to shave down that army. The scary part about Beyond is whenever you're retreating, you are going to lose a few units here and there. And I believe Beyond is actually comfortable enough. He has a drop headed northbound over here that may go up to threaten the top center expansion.
He saw that the entire army of Showtime was down there, so I really like this choice here of trying to threaten the fourth base and maybe try and take it out. Showtime realized that there were a lot of Vikings, and he didn't have that many Stalkers, so he walked on his Stalker count here. He had one big warping, now he's up to 14. That's really going to help here with this. And Templar Archives, he's now going to have this can't miss the observer there.
Oh my god, here we go. There's going to be an attack up here at the top. He's going to get both of these pylons, it looks like, and then probably the Nexus as well. No Warpins over here.
And Showtime has to walk all the way back. He's only in the middle of the map right now, and his Colossi even split away from the rest of his army.
Yes, DTs coming up here, but not in time. And a scan even to take out the DTs as well. Unbelievable. Now it's 3-base versus 3-base. You definitely don't want to be even on bases against Beyond. And the truth is, that didn't cost Beyond anything. He didn't have to trade his army into that. He got it for free.
That was really good there. 2-2 was started from both players, but Protoss having Chrono Boost, that's going to finish earlier, so at least Showtime really has caught up nicely with this. I thought at the time that Double Forge was kind of ambitious, because I wasn't sure he was going to be able to have enough units, but he had just enough. That's why Showtime is so good. He was able to realize that very early, and now that's something that he's going to have going for him. Advanced ballistic starts though, and when you already have enough Vikings to deal with these Liberators are going to be so scary because it's very hard to actually fight and defend against them with your Blink Stalkers in those very big and chaotic fights. So Beyond still working on that double siege, and that's going to make it even stronger.
Okay, once again, Beyond with his small squad over here in the upper right. Now he can always poke back in up here. I don't believe it would be wise to do it now because Showtime is just here in the top center waiting. So
full mẹ 200 supply rồi, thằng số tham không làm cho gì. Chứ giờ chẳng nhẽ ép đợi thằng Bill nó cũng full tham đi để đánh nhau à?
It's crazy actually right now, like how good both of these players' compositions are. If you look at the army of
Naruto, Storm, Colossus,
Disruptor, and now he's adding High Templars with Storm.
Vãi cả vui.
That triple AOE.
That's right.
Vui này hơi tốn APM ấy.
Yeah, he's really ready to deal with a large Beyond army. Let's be totally honest here. That's really hard to
Đã
use
Blink
all
rồi thì
three
chớ
of those
lại còn
melee
phải.
units at once. I mean, that's one of the things about Protoss that you really, if you're at the top of your game, which abilities do you activate first in what order? How do you have everything hotkeyed and set up right? And it looks like we may actually have the battle beginning up here. I think it would be unwise to try to move in here fully. Nice job shaving off some of those units there with the disruptors.
That was way more than I thought he might be able to get. What is going on?
That was actually the guy. That was actually
Lại kéo về à?
blown up back there.
Anh Rai này làm gì đây?
Talking about.
Full 200 supply rồi anh còn đừng nhìn nhau à?
Terran will just pull all the way back and make sure they don't get anything blown up. But right now, for
Rai
some
Showtime rồi
reason,
thằng
Beyond just
em
like moved out
khó
of
hiểu quá.
position and lost quite a few units, like really fast.
Yeah, that was actually
Rồi lại đi
impressive.
về.
Move in here by
Chờ hai bên
Showtime.
full
He
army.
actually came in, did some damage, and basically got out untouched. Beyond, I believe, is going to be headed up north
À
here.
không, anh đóng Stargate rồi.
Upper right.
Vậy là anh sẽ lên Tempest.
Now there is, I believe, some action in the bottom left. I don't know if that's a drop or what, but he's setting up these liberation zones, and he
Chắc có mẹ
may,
anh
when
Rai
his
chưa?
army starts to engage, pick up and
Giờ
then drop
thằng
over
Yun nó lên
across
được
the
đàn
map.
Reaper rồi. Imbalito rồi, làm đéo cho tôi đây. Ôi
Doing a
trời
little bit of a
ơi.
bolt-esque move where you attack in two places with big, massive amount of armies, and there's really not much on the left-hand side. The one High Templar that was there gets sniped
man.
instantly.
Beautiful warpins here, gunning down anything that beautiful takedowns of the warpins here, eliminating anything that comes by.
High Templar coming in.
He needs to get a scan there. Nice storm, but he takes out the Nexus. That's going to be a little bit less gas. He's going to be
I'm
mining
not sure
from
why
here on out.
Showtime isn't engaging into the main army. He's really worried about this massive amount of Liberators, and I guess he should be, but because of that, Beyond is going to be taking
Ra
out
Showtime này
another
đánh như
one of
thằng
those
áo ấy.
bases.
And you know what? He's close enough to where the Liberators are all set up. This is very easy to push into. And as for as many units as Showtime has warped in, he's definitely spent more trying to get rid of this army than what Beyond did to make these Medivacs, Marines, and Marauders. So this is a very bad position here for Showtime, and it's really just Beyond kind of outmaneuvering his opponent.
Absolutely, yeah. His composition is just insane as well. Showtime's gonna come in from another angle, snipe some of these Liberators here pre-fight. That's really good. And 3-3 is about to finish, so that's something that he's gonna have going for him as well. He's gonna be 3-3 against just the 3-2 of Beyond.
Now, the only thing that can really help to fight on this army, those disruptors over there. Actually, excuse me, this is actually such a big Protoss army. He's going to get some good storms down here, but yes, as long as the Liberators are there, and Liberators just have to have something underneath them so that they can't be gunned down, it's very tricky for Protoss to get over there. That's why the disruptors do matter. He has to chuck those in there, try to get the Marines and Marauders to move back, blink in, gun those down, and then ideally get back out.
Showtime's gonna move in there. The disruptors are being pulled back for some reason. He's just fighting this with the one stalkers that he's got, and it looks like he's gonna clean up, but behind this, Beyond has a much healthier economical position.
Yeah, and I think also, you gotta remember, look, their supplies are almost even right now, but, I mean,
this is crazy.
He's been beaten up pretty badly here. And actually having the Liberators up here at the north.
He's having to make a void ray to clean this up, because stalkers, if they get close enough, they're gonna get taken out by all these Liberators. So Beyond exploiting his unit's capability to the fullest there.
This is pretty cool, though. The counterattack here by Showtime, this may be too much. There's also a counterattack by Beyond up here in the top left. However, there is so many Protoss units over here. I think the entire main might be wiped out. He's going to continue to shoot down whatever he can here in the main. If you get inside of a Terran's main base, and can keep firing down anything that pops out of the barracks. That's usually the easiest way to play the game. Nice storms over there. Again, the Protoss army's been whittled down a little bit, but it's going to be very tough. If Showtime can actually hold this position, Beyond may end up getting checkmated here. Anything that pops out, a Terran army is only strong when it's together. Units are basically never ever good.
I think that's one of the best things that Showtime could have done there, and he actually catches a bunch
Rồi
of
thôi
those
xong
very
rồi, mất con mẹ đàn Imba này rồi.
This is a big deal there.
Meanwhile, I think Showtime
can
win this.
I think across the map is defended very nicely as well. So
Beyond's counterattack was not quite clean enough, and I don't know. Let's see how much more damage you can do here. I mean, this is a real problem right now.
Xong con mẹ.
Beyond is mining pretty efficiently. He's not able to produce and remake his army, so every unit that Beyond has from here on out is super
Blink đi xuống.
Storm is
Khó chịu, khó nhỉ?
One High Templar posturing from the high ground there.
Dude, I think Showtime just won this first game.
That was such a crazy game. He moves in from behind with the stalkers.
Yeah, no, I think he did it, man. Yeah,
vậy anh ra sao thắng win á? Cái đéo như vậy.
Showtime, remember to lock the front door, guys. Showtime just walks right in.
Đéo hiểu luôn.
Crashes the main base.
À, rất là do nhiều Viking quá.
Beyond was doing a lot, but But sometimes these players are being so technical, dropping everywhere, counterattacking, and Showtime's just looking at the situation and saying, well, if he's in all these different places at once, you know where he probably isn't? His main.
It's like one of those movies, like, you know what really would surprise them? If, with our minimal numbers, we attack them at dawn. And that's exactly what happened. Like, you're absolutely right here. Showtime was like, you know what, I'm just going to attack his main. He's doing these fancy plays, leaving Liberators on the top side of the map that I can't attack into. Attacking on the left-hand side with big chunks of bio. What is he going to have at home, really? Moves up the high grounds and finally finds a way to get fights in which he's going to be favored, because he was just too hard to get a good fight down on the map. Beyond every single time was ready with the Liberators. The bio was perfectly placed. And in this case, he just walks out. I'm really surprised. I thought that from the position he was in, he was almost unrecoverable, but Showtime finds one of the only way he could have won this game, and this just goes to show how good this guy is and how brilliant that play just was right there.
I think Beyond a couple days ago had an easier time in this stage of the tournament.
Vâng, và một phép thần kỳ nào đấy mà Showtime nó win được view nữa. Đoán có lẽ một phần là do Colossus quên lên nhiều Viking.
And that felt like ladder.
Yeah, and it felt like a ladder game. But you know, Showtime is not violent. Showtime is a much scarier opponent, and I think Beyond is letting that sink in. Anyways, guys, let's go to game number 2. Showtime versus Beyond. In the bottom left, in the red, winning game number 1, he is Showtime. And in the bottom right, in the blue, he has to win this game and the next. He is Beyond.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm a little bit shocked about that game still. You know,
yeah, me too.
I'm a Protoss player. Like, I feel like in this position, I almost never would be able to win this sort of game. So like, to see Showtime just go like for this attack and having it work so cleanly. And also, I think Beyond kind of fell apart, to be honest. Like,
well, I think he was getting a little bit ahead of himself.
Yeah.
You know, that was almost like it was if StarCraft was fan fiction in a comic book. It's like, he's everywhere, he's doing this, I'm destroying him in every possible way, and then Showtime just moves out and goes into the main and there's nothing there to defend. Also, Beyond was still doing fancy pants counterattacks and all that, but
he was probably as shocked as us to see that counterattack like come to fruition, and slowly it must have started to sink in that, really? Like, am I seriously losing this? Is he really in my base right now, taking out everything when I've put in all this work, sniped all of these bases and put myself ahead? But that was for real, and he died to it. And now Showtime gets a chance to move on in first
Center chỉ chờ xem trận này Dion có gỡ lại không thôi, chứ đánh ngáo như vậy chắc khó hy vọng quá.
I think it's not bad at all. And you know, if he gets out of this group, you can breathe a big sigh of relief. You know, you're that much closer to becoming the world champion, and it's not an easy journey.
Hay là ăn cái GSL xong rồi ngáo đá luôn rồi.
Both sides will
Bây giờ đi 2-1-1.
In the bottom center
Rất
of the
sớm rồi.
map, there are these blockers here. So occasionally there's some weirdness going on, or some ways you can sneak around. It's actually harder than if this wasn't completely empty and open. The spot for drops, you can be thrown off a little bit if you're not watching carefully. So even though it would seem kind of obvious that you could drop each other's main, it's still a little bit trickier to stop. Sometimes on this map, games are really short, and other times they're really long. It really just depends on, a lot of times, the two builds the races pick. Because they both can be aggressive, or they can both be defensive.
Absolutely, yeah. It looks like Beyond is going for one of the typical builds that we see on this kind of map, where it's closed by air, so to speak, and you open with 2 medivacs and a lot of marines that you can drop from very early on to apply pressure, and then go into a third base and everything that you want basically from there. So he opened basically with a reactor, made a second barracks, and now we're gonna see him go basically stay on 2 barracks for a longer time, whereas usually the standard for the most part will be 3, whether it's quickly or after a starport. And you can go into steam pack as well with this, and the moment that you reach 2 medivacs, you can pick up a lot of marines, go across the map, and start on applying a lot of pressure. And if Protoss sometimes is not ready, the games can end very quickly.
Yeah, and of course with Beyond doing that, just how slick he is at moving around. I've said this before, but I mean, when I was casting him in the GSL Kodos finals, he made Marauders look like they were broken. He kites so well. I mean, he just juggles everything so beautifully, and it's kind of funny because you know, when the Marauder first came out, people were kind of good at microing it, but the point where Beyond's at, just these core basic units that Terran get at the start, Beyond is just absolutely perfect at controlling.
Yeah, which is actually very rare in this day and age, right? Because StarCraft has been out for a while, so like when the game was first out, like there were a few Marines, a few guys like Marine King that like showed us how to split and all that.
The stutter step micro.
Yeah, exactly.
And
people
pull
like, oh my
SCDs.
god, you can do that. And
Yeah.
like now, years later, this has become standard. Pretty much everybody can do it.
I feel like Beyond is the next level of that.
Yeah,
where we see it, I'm like, whoa, you can actually be that good at controlling your army. And you know, the truth is, in game one, he did control his army really well. He just had it all over the map and damaged him, and didn't confront the fact that Showtime might, with his mostly undamaged army, just move in for a counterattack, keep everything together, and that's checkmate.
Yeah, Showtime is going for Blink Stalkers there. He gets a War Prism as well. I wonder if he maybe wants to be aggressive. He maybe hopes that Young goes for an attack on him. He sees the double medivac here, picking up a lot of Marines and heading across the map. I think.
Okay, here's what I think he wants to do. I think he actually wants to try to catch the drop with the Stalkers. Blink's almost going to be done, and when the War Prism finishes, he can actually counterattack immediately.
But I feel like Beyond most likely saw that observer. Like, there's no way with his eagle eye. He's way too good for it. He's okay. He's gonna scan, clean it up, and basically tell Showtime right now, you have no idea which area I'm gonna come from. I can hit you from anywhere.
Now, no, Beyond's kind of stayed back. This is always where, you know, you have to try to use your instincts as well as you can to figure out where your opponent might try to predict that you're coming at. So, and he's actually going to slow push through the middle, upper middle, I should say.
That's a sick pylon in the main of Showtime.
Ra Showtime này lại bản cũ lặp lại.
Oh my gosh. That is the most Artosis
Phải ăn được một game ăn mãi là chơi bò mãi.
There's so much Artosis pylon potential, man. They blow that up in Artosis.
Chứ có vẻ như trận này anh ấy đánh Red Deer một chút.
He needs a tasteless pylon.
He needs a tasteless pylon to back him up. Well, let's see. Let's see if that actually becomes a factor here. It is tucked way back in the bottom left, so it's not the most accessible point. Actually, it's the least accessible point.
Yeah. Oh, I love this little harassment that we see. It's not even a big commitment. It's just 2 adepts and a prism, and you can snipe SCVs all over the place. Apply some pressure on a Terran player, and in that case, it even forced the command center not to be made on location.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, these are the little delays that you can cause, and it starts to stack up. Beyond is actually now in the Protoss's turf here, going over this observer, under this observer, and will he actually try to attack in her? I think this would be unwise. It seems like there should be enough to fight
there's
this.
no thermal lens yet, so I've seen this kind of game where Terran steams in, snipes the Colossus, and it's just lights out for Protoss. But against Showtime, I expect Guardian Shield to be used on time, Photon Overcharge to help as well.
Okay, really good play there. He has to retreat. So it will be Showtime with a third base up and running.
Ra Showtime trận này đánh này đỡ ngáo với trận trước khối.
Just in the natural, that'll be lifted off soon here. But Showtime getting a third base up before his opponent. In this matchup, generally, you're both kind of at the same supply. If the game is even, it's not like some cases where Zerg, will be, ahead in some way, but it's actually much closer than it looks.
Beyond, he's actually going into one of the only. Oh, I was gonna say he was gonna go into one of the blind spots of Showtime, but actually he goes a little bit too low. The observer spots that location. A preemptive overcharge is going to be used here to buy himself a little bit of time, and Showtime is going to move back in position to defend against this. Keep in mind he has Blink, he can get those medivacs.
Okay, he does it perfectly. Right.
Bắn được không? Nổ một cái, được. Lãi rồi.
And just like that, Showtime now extending his supply lead a little bit more.
Nó đổ drop 2 đầu cơ.
Went for another drop and
Kéo hết drop ra đẹp.
towards the main base.
Chết khoảng độ 5-6 con cốt rồi. Đúng rồi. Chết khoảng 5-6 con.
Will keep on doing his attacks here.
I really
those 2 places.
Okay, Blink
coming back in here. He's moving in now. Only one stock here, so the blink under is going to be tricky.
Build trận này khó. Khó cho build cái trận này rồi.
And okay, got that cleaned up. Well, this is what a lot of Terrans are doing nowadays. You can just kind of keep dropping everywhere while the Protoss is on 3 bases. Obviously the Colossus needs to be escorted by stalkers and the such because
rồi chắc cái chờ cộng 1 xong rồi nó hit rồi.
There we go. 1-1 now starts from Showtime. So it's similar to last game. He went into 3 Colossi, he's now getting Disruptor. Remember the next step was High Templars.
Thực ra với lợi thế bây giờ là Showtime có thể làm một phát hit phát được, chắc chắn là Bill cũng sẽ vỡ mặt với phát đấy, bởi vì là họ có Warp rồi. Và lượng Viking chưa đông, chứ để lượng Viking ở đông thì cũng rách việc đấy. Thế là sao vẫn cảm ơn Warp đấy được.
That many liberators before they have like the critical mass with advanced ballistics.
Well, we have Darkrai. It's coming. Well, that's going to be a great, end game, tech to have. He can move around, try to hit as many locations as possible, and that's really where Showtime gets to have more of like the role that the Terran has been having.
Cancel, ôi trời ơi.
Looks like Showtime going to come in here.
Anh để auto xét hay sao?
Less SCVs if he brought Adept, so that's not great. And it looks like, Todd, we are just going into the late game.
Yeah.
There was no crazy pushes. There was nothing that was able to, where he was able to just take out anything critical. There's no real lead here. We're just going to have to wait and see. Now, Bjorn, this is sort of where he's in his element. He's able to drop in so many places. Because obviously as the game goes on longer, the more territory Protoss has to acquire, the more territory they've acquired, the more locations they can be dropped at and hit at. So we'll have to see if Showtime can handle that. When the DTs come out, he can definitely send DTs and some more prisms around and try to continue to do more damage.
Yeah, I just don't feel like Bjorn has enough to attack, but this army is still pretty scary. If he gets a very good engagement, in particular the start of the engagement, it could be great for him. He's actually going to steam right in there.
Okay, is this a mistake here by Bjorn? The Colossi are in pretty decent positions, kiting back now. The Vikings taking some damage too. Colossi remain. But the Vikings now starting to get lower and lower. Remember, with Blink, he can continue to chase those Vikings without Vikings in the game. The Colossi are going to be very difficult for that Terran army to deal with. Bjorn perhaps overextending.
Yeah.
As Protoss not only doesn't lose that much, but keeps most of the complexity of his army. He doesn't lose the Colossi, he didn't lose all his sentries or anything like that.
Not the end of the world for Bjorn, though.
Right.
I think he realized pretty quickly this wasn't going to work, so he got out of there. And what he does behind this, I love. He just pulls back, picks up everything.
Vâng, vậy là được một phát anh ăn mãi. Nó cứ đủ Storm rồi sau đấy là được Disruptor rồi Colossus. Rất đủ thể loại. Các anh ấy kiểu Stargate như ván trước.
Okay, nice warpins here. With Bjorn in the middle of the map, this is very difficult to deal with. It looks like already 10 SCVs have been picked off. And of course the warpins can continue here.
Quay tay
in the center of the map now pulling around.
That's going to kill a lot still. Look at his adepts transferring into the natural base of Bjorn now. And he's actually walking back all the way home.
Yeah, landed Vikings. That's not going to be helpful against that Colossi later on. What is happening to Bjorn, man? This is not good. Bjorn, I thought this was going to be really one-sided.
19 con SCV rồi.
What's wrong? Look at this.
It is, but the other way around in this sector.
Yeah, right. Well, it's not over yet, but 176 supply to 153. I mean, that's a very good place to be as Showtime. Now, granted, I think pushing across this map is going to be a little bit trickier than the other map we had in Game 1.
Showtime finds himself on 73 probes against 44 SCVs.
Tôi xong luôn sắp là được rồi.
And actually, Bjorn is still ahead in upgrades, by the way. Like, 2-2 is not even finished yet for Showtime. It's about to finish. Bjorn started 3-3 earlier. I'm not sure if taking a fight now would be the best idea for Showtime.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
He has High Templars with Storm against No Ghost, so it feels like even, like if supply-wise, they're kind of...
Nếu nhìn thấy 4 con High Templar này chắc đái mẹ ra máu.
Because Bjorn's not remaxed out yet.
He's got the disruptors here too. Now, but look at that arc. He's saying, come at me.
Last game, Bjorn was so far ahead in army costs,
right?
And still lost, and now they are fairly equal.
But again, if Protoss starts to lose his fight, in both these matches, one guy starts to lose a fight, then the other guy ends up chasing you down and taking out all the important units. We also have this big drop. Okay, huge drop down here in the bottom left. We have cannons already in place, but that's certainly not going to be enough. He instead turns now, going to the natural.
I think Bjorn is starting to realize that he needs to make something big happen if he wants to win this game.
Oh my God.
And he's going to ignite a massive base trade.
He's coming in again. And this game may be the same game that we had in game number 1. Let's see. He's now going to go back to the main. Also, of course, Showtime has the option to, instead of going into the main, head up.
Nhưng mà nếu theo tình trạng này mà chết bay thì có vẻ như rằng Showtime sẽ đỡ. Vậy là khả năng cao sẽ là 2-0. Bây giờ không còn đủ mana để scan thì vài con TT có thể cản, có thể đỡ được ở nhà ngay lập tức. Wáp đủ DT rồi. Giờ thêm 2-3 con DT nữa thôi. Từ tiền Showtime rồi đủ. Vừa đủ. Thôi xong con mẹ rồi anh ơi. Ai bảo cái tội anh ngáo. Thôi. Con mẹ vẫn đủ scan. Chuẩn hết con mẹ scan rồi. Đấy vẫn có DT mà.
I don't know though. If he loses all the command centers or runs out of scans, the GT can clean everything up as well.
Yeah, and I think right now that's kind of what's happening. There is no scan available here for Bjorn, and this DT is going to town on these last few units of Bjorn across the map. I'm sure he would love to force something like a draw. I think by now Bjorn must be starting to realize that it will be so hard for him.
Ở nhà tên ở map ở bên chính.
But Showtime is still mining a decent bit. I love that he remakes Mothership Core
Đúng
for
rồi.
overcharge.
Yeah. No, this is
actually Bjorn's got overeager. He's trying to retake the natural
God! Showtime's going for it. He blinks in here. He's gunning down the Liberators. The one Liberation Zone not even set up. It looks like we're going to use his SCVs. I don't think there's enough.
Đúng rồi, mẹ anh Lai, mẹ đánh hổ báo hơn lần trước đấy. Thì mẹ tưởng ngay còn thua nữa thì thôi. Cái Fifi kia đủ đéo mana đâu mà làm gì. Vào bây giờ. Bạt ra ai phát Storm thì thôi. Thối mũi rồi, đàn bio luôn.
But at the same time, I don't think the Beyond has any floating buildings that can actually get away, right?
Có thể kéo Disruptor về cũng được, cũng không phải tội. Anh nghĩ Điêu có thể kéo Disruptor về có thể ổn hơn. Ôi rồi chơi bẩn mấy nhà. Rồi xong rồi mẹ Điêu rồi 2-0 cho Showtime ạ. Anh ra Showtime đánh như lên đồng vậy. Đây. Wow.
Feel like I'm in a parallel universe
right now. 2-0. Wow. Giờ vẫn đéo thể nghĩ là trận Showtime mà ăn view 2-0. Wow.
They're coming back. They're catching up. Really great job there by rather Showtime. Beyond just was not able to prepare. He was well. It almost seems like he prepared so much for this multitasking attack. Essentially, Showtime won in the same way 2 games in a row against Beyond.
Đây mọi người có thể nhìn thấy mắt của thằng Showtime này.
Oh my God, we're gonna go to a break when we come
anh em vừa giết Dune xong rồi.
back.
Game 1 thì không nói, game 2 thì đúng tính chất của Red. Này đâu cưỡi cổ từ đầu đến cuối.
Absolutely amazing. I am still speechless after that amazing victory we just saw with Showtime defeating Beyond 2-0. I mean, Beyond is ranked #1 on a league like this. Was not the result I think a lot of people would have predicted, what is it like? This is absolutely tremendous for you to go up against a player who's supposed to be one of the very best players at this game, and obviously you've shown your skill time and time again throughout the year, but finally when it matters most against a player that is supposed to be at the very peak of this game, and to beat that player, what is that like?
That's pretty good, I would say. Like,
Như vậy là xong rồi đúng không nhỉ mọi người
going
nhỉ?
into the match, I was not really sure what
Như
to
vậy thì
expect, to be
win
honest,
sub
like,
alone trước.
how good he really is. But I think I was just really good prepared against him, and he did exactly what I expected him to do. So yeah, I mean, it feels really good.
When you say that he did exactly what you expected him to do, then does that mean when it came to preparing against him, you just studied a lot of his VODs? Were you preparing your strategy specifically against what you thought he would do?
Yeah, I watched like pretty much every game there is, and he played a lot of games. Like he plays every online tournament pretty much, and of course GSL, and he wasn't SSL but GSL of course. And yeah, I mean, I watched like his series against Cess from Casper Cup, and I kind of realized he's a bit weak against quick Colossi play, I think, because he relies a lot on really making something happen early on, like just killing your opponent or doing like game-ending harass damage. So I was just like playing really, really safe early on and getting to Colossi, and then long game I feel always pretty good against Terran.
Well, in that first map, it did seem a little bit dangerous for you. He was able to snag your 4th Nexus, and then he came around and snagged your Naturals, so really abusing the fact that your army was clumped for a lot of that map. So when you were in that situation and it was looking kind of dicey, what made you make that decision to move on and into his base?
Like, he snapped my 4th base because he killed like 4 observers of me, and since I was going Colossi, I couldn't really remake them too much, so I had like no map vision really. And my army was like I was a bit scared of him going through the middle of the map, because it's a really strong point for Terran, like setting up siege tanks and liberators. So I wanted to go for counter-attack all the time to prevent that, and he just abused that really good, like killing my Nexus, and for some reason a lot of my games end up this way, like me losing a lot of economy but having like a stronger army. And yeah, I mean, he took like a kind of bad fight, I would say, losing all his liberators and taking some big disruptor hits, and I just had to go for it at this point, and I just wanted to kill like all his production, because that's basically it for Terran then. So yeah.
Mấy thằng cha này nó
And
thẳng một
speaking
sự
of just
quái
having
thai.
to go for it, a similar sort of
Rồi,
thing
đúng rồi, đéo
happens
nghe
in
cái gì
game
đâu.
2. So when you saw that he had this huge drop on your base, I mean, what was going through your mind? Because at that point it becomes a little bit crazy.
I think it was just desperation from him really. Like, I shot on everything he did, maybe lost a few probes early on, but it wasn't a big deal. So he had to do something, like he couldn't take a fight. So I was kind of expecting the drop, but I had DT, so for base rate it's way better for me, because I kill his CCs and he has no scans, and that's it basically.
Well, with this win, you've not only defeated Beyond, the GSL champion, you also defeated Deer, also had top 4 finishes at GSL. So moving forward, I can't help but feel like this must give you a huge confidence boost headed into that top 8.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Bjorn was one of the scariest opponents here. I think TY is also really scary. So those two are kind of like, I wanted to avoid them, but now that I beat Bjorn, I guess I can take on anyone, so yeah.
So you just mentioned TY, so you're not scared about Dark or Zest?
Not about Cess, but I think Dark could be a bit hard. Like, I've played a few later games against him, and it was close games, but he won them. But yeah, I think Dark is probably scarier.
All right then, well congratulations again, absolutely amazing series. And with that, it will be Showtime joining Dark and Zest in the top 8 here at the WCS Global Finals.
Well, what a victory that was from Showtime. A German player all the way from a small little town has now made his way to the global finals and has taken down Dia 2-0 in the opening match, and now he's taken down Beyond.
Như thế hết rồi em mọi người ạ.
In control, I know you want to
Hết
jump
rồi
right
anh,
in.
các mẹ.
Yeah, I mean, like I
Có
said,
thể đi ngủ rồi ạ.
we
2 giờ
all
với
kind
mẹ
of
rồi.
felt that we knew Showtime
Nhanh
was
hơn mình
really
nghĩ.
steaming towards that 2-0
Cứ nghĩ là 2
victory.
rưỡi em xong
and,
được rồi.
It just
Đấu
something about it, you know.
4
I
trận
just had
rồi.
a sense. I was like,
2 trận đó,
yeah,
2
doesn't stand
trận
a
win.
chance, man. It's gonna be super good. We knew we had it in him all along.
Đúng rồi. Vậy là hết rồi.
Otosis, back down to earth. You did say it would be closer than the Beyond Violet series, but I don't think anybody
everyone said
expected that.
But no, I mean, Showtime is a really good Protoss, and I guess he's showing us just how good he is. Obviously, it's kind of surprising to see like a dominating 2-0. But Jeff and I were actually kind of laughing about this. He had Colossus, Disruptors, and High Templars.
You can't control that army, dude.
It's uncontrollable.
I guess he has the best micro. Like, there's nothing harder in StarCraft 2 than trying to make those 3 units play well together. Like,
a little
it's so
clip
hard.
note comes up when you build those 3. They're like, "Hey, sir, did you mean to do that? Like,
shouldn't you leave one of these at home?" Like,
you built 3
no,
AOE units.
But even on top of that, though, like we joke about all the AOE, but actually, I really feel like it was the Colossus specifically. I feel like a player like Dion, who does prepare so much, obviously has encountered Colossus, like you will face it, but really it's been used in the PvT matchup lately as like a 2-base timing attack, or yeah, you'll mix it in, but it's just straight to Templar or something like that. But Disruptor specifically with Colossus make it so weird. He was like constantly being very protective of his Vikings. It just, he did not really know how to deal with those Colossus. I mean, he over knew how to deal with the Colossus, is actually the point I'm making.
And if you look at map 1 here specifically now, it really did look like Beyond was leading and going to win.
There's some really nice things that were happening during that push towards the front, but that army starts to push him back after he kills the Natural. He leaves all of his medevacs over with this attack once it's wrapped up, and he leaves 6 of his Liberators at that north base blocking gas. So he has no way to protect his production, and big kudos to Showtime for recognizing the opportunity to get on top of those barracks. And that's one of the best ways to shut the Terran player down, because the way that things rally out, and also the awareness of these observers in the next game to continue to stop everything.
But Showtime just constantly had his observers in the right places. He split his army fairly well. A lot of times we'll see players like, yeah, you defend the main, but then you lose your third. You can't lose a third in this situation. He holds on to the third, evacuates the probes, and then here's him pushing it back. And then this Warp Prism, it doesn't actually live because there are Vikings out there, ironically. This is actually where their role is kind of good. But it gets on top of the production again, and it gets into a base tradey situation. And I love the realization here from Showtime where he's like, hang on, I got a Dark Shrine. You've only got like these 2 or 3 orbitals. If I can eliminate your ability to detect them, we can go to the base trade, and yes, you can float your buildings, but if you can't see the Dark Templar, I will win through attrition.
Yeah, you know, looking at it overall, like stylistically, I feel like Beyond definitely should have had more Liberators. I think, that's maybe a little bit of a problem. And looking at like the type of shape his PvT is in right now, it's very, very good. But I think this would look a lot different against TY if they end up hitting in that round of 8 or maybe even the round of 4. I think that's going to be a lot tougher for him than the Beyond style that we saw here, where he's more active with the micro. It turns out he gets so much splash damage, the micro doesn't do very much. But you know, maybe Liberators for Beyond would help. I think this would, you know, TY might match up better against Showtime.
I don't even feel confident to make any predictions about Showtime again, though. We were like, he's going to be, you know, I thought we felt like he was going to beat Deer and it was going to be a good series. We actually just dominated him. And then Beyond, you know, obviously, I in particular took it over the top. It was like 0% chance, wow. And I was so wrong. And he played rock solid. Like,